I would say that it was a combination of recognizing that when I applied to something, it just went into the abyss, and that there's a better way to do things. And so, like, here's kind of what I think this came from is in the Marine Corps infantry, you're trained that I always need to out cycle. We talk about this like idea of the OODA loop, and this we would say cycle and out cycle, and to think faster. I wanted to think faster. I wanted to think better. I wanted to be more lethal than anyone else, because the difference between good and great, when you recognize it, is huge, and it's a ton of effort. But sometimes it's just little things. There's little details that you go, that person is great compared to that person's good. And so with the idea of knowing that it was a hyper competitive environment, how could I find the edge over anyone? And so where are these edges found? Right? It's like any given Sunday. Where is this inch found on the field? The inch is found with an HD camera. The inch is found with better lighting. The inch is found with a microphone. The inch is found with a fully built out profile. It's found with reaching out and saying, hey, I'd like to introduce myself. Okay. That's where these inches are found for me to edge out anyone else. And so I think in that process of like, how can I, because it's a competition. Okay. It's a competition. They're not just looking to someone who's good enough. They're going to take the best person. And so if you apply to a role and you don't hear back and you don't get it, you're like, oh, why not? I had everything they needed. You're right. You probably did. But guess what? There was someone that was better than you. They believed in more than you, or they felt more comfortable with. And so the way to win now, because it's a competition, is you need to make people feel more comfortable, more confident, and more excited about your candidacy for the opportunity in any way possible. And so you have to win. So that's like one phase of it. You also have to understand the game that's happening on the backside of applying to places. So as a recruiter on the inside that I had a chance to see, is that if you talk to a recruiter, this recruiter has an incentive structure. They're required to fill 10 roles a month. And they're told by hiring managers, I want them to look like this and talk like this. Not look, but like they need this background and this experience. And I want 5 years of this and 2 years of this. And I want this type of background. Go find them. And if you don't find them, the recruiter gets, told they're not performing. Well, as a military background, you're probably not going to fit the requirements that the recruiter is looking for. And it's not the recruiter's responsibility to find diamonds in the rough. They're looking for easy ways to win. So you're going to get passed over. So you have to go around that. You have to find ways past it. And so you do research online. You figure out who the hiring manager is. You introduce yourself. And then you get that executive sponsorship pushing you down to the recruiter compared to through the recruiter up. And it's this big game of like chess, you could say, or like judo, of navigating a system that's in place. You need to rise above it and navigate with it in many ways, I'd say.
You've talked about two things that I think are really interesting. The first one you said is that if you're not getting hired, it's because they're looking to hire the best person, not the person who just meets the criteria.
Yeah.
And then the second one is it's not in the incentive structure of the recruiter to hire things that they don't understand.
Yeah.
And
hard.
An interesting, it's tough. The question I want to ask you is, from an emotional and mental perspective, what advice would you give to a service member who is getting out that would say, for example, they've been in for 20 years, they've had a very decorated career, they've done amazing things for the service of this nation, and none of their stuff translates to any corporate role. They're at that person, based off of what you just said, is at a disadvantage based off of the criteria that you just listed out. And I agree with you. And so what is your advice to that person to emotionally and mentally deal with the fact that even though they do have all of this phenomenal service in their life, it's not going to translate over, and that's just what it is?
It can translate but it won't be transcribed. It won't be copy and pasted. It needs to be translated over. So the advice is like, just accept that you were a star athlete in one game and now you're playing a different game, but you're still an athlete, right? That's the talent thing. And so you're going from a 20-year career of playing in the NFL, and let's just say you're tall and a receiver. Okay, 20 years there, you're great. You really can't go and say, look at how many catches I have, I'm going to be a great basketball player. You need to talk about all of these like attributes about you. Great team player, hard worker, works in the gym, studies his ass off, can do like a 40-yard dash and the jump and like all these other things that the combine would be. You take, that's the talent, over to the new place. You could talk about what you've done and bring it over. So look, the advice is you got to be humble and just take a big bite of humble pie on, like, you were a winner in that game. You're in a new game now. And so the reason you were fantastic and have a 20-year illustrious career, great career, is because you were adaptable. You figured the game out and you played it really well. And you played hard. So the advice is like, you're in a new game now. Go be that adaptable person. Go be that winner, that champion, the person who finds the edges, right? Who finds the inches in this new place, and start playing the game that's you have to play, and to let go and be thankful of the game you used to play. And this also plays into like this identity thing too, on what you step out of. Like I miss the Marine Corps. It was a beautiful time. It was beautiful memories, tough, big, good, bad, all the rest, but it was great. And I don't miss the Marine Corps as what it was or what it is today. I miss what it was to me then. I miss that time, that experience. If I were to go back, it'd be totally different. And it's that acceptance and humble pie. Like, that was the game you were playing. You're good at it. Let's be thankful for it. Let's take why you were good at it and now bring it into the new game of your new experience in the next chapter of your civilian career.